There I am after a Nikki. There's little Michael. Two little gingerbread cabins I spent a lot of time on, gone. The best yellow shower, golden shower tree on that side of the island still remained. Well, a little bit of it. Anyway, if only I'd have known about it when I noticed all the cats, that were walking up the middle of the road right in front of that house. Of course, I wasn't here for this, Michael's solar return started about that time. It was terrible. I had to move him out of there. So I went to Hilo for it. We watched on TV when a Nikki went right over my two little gingerbread cabins. Place to start a little family. So anyway, wife, little Michael, me, we're all sitting in a Hilo hotel when this happened. And we got back, oh boy, what a scene, huh? Of course, Buddy was still there. He'd come back. He found a place to hide out. All the little animals, even the little chicks, came back. Amazing, huh? Anyway, welcome. Thanks for tuning in. This is Rollin Frost, Kona astrologer, and I'm going to do program 1026 for you. I got some interesting things to share, but business comes first. I want to get into the next 10 days for you, because you've got some really interesting themes going on, huh? First of all, there was a full moon on July 19th. Let's see. Yeah, that's right on the USA Pluto, which in the government chart, the 1776 chart, is an employee that opposes Mercury, the ruler of the chart. And so this full moon makes the Pluto in the U.S. chart go lunatic-like, and that's what you're seeing on television. Then we had the new moon, 13 Cancer, on the 4th of July. That new moon opposed Pluto in the sky itself in a chart of now. And everybody is ticked off at Pluto. Pluto, if you haven't figured it out, is policeman for most of us. So we got a double kind of a whammy on policeman. I'm concerned about Uranus, because that full moon on the 19th squared Uranus. Uranus is the guy that does bzzz, goes around and limps a little bit, comes up suddenly, knocks out your power. Yeah, he's the ruler of hurricanes, and that's what I'm concerned with right now in Hawaii a little bit, is that we've got a hurricane situation. Well, hurricane, maybe I should just say really strong wind, because the ocean's still kind of cold. Nevertheless, Uranus goes stationary on the 29th. Yeah, if you're watching a Thursday show, tomorrow at 11:07 a.m., Uranus stops in the sky and goes backwards. Well, when it slows down, it's slower, stronger, more hurricanes, more earthquakes. Stops. That's the peak of it. And everybody feels alone and quaky. Yeah, and then it goes backwards and it speeds up. As it speeds up, it loses power. So there's a little window here, and I always say, you want the complete window, you go back 20 days and it comes up like the bell-shaped curve, yeah? Anyway, that's your situation. The astrocartography says high winds are going to hit Kauai especially, yeah? You've got another full moon coming up that'll take some of the pressure off the police, and because it trines Saturn, the politicians are all going to be on stage, and you're going to have a month of politics. Interesting, it makes a quincux, and it's a, better call it a seesaw to Neptune. So you're going to see some politicians giving up Neptune, sacrificing Neptune. Maybe they'll give up alcohol. Maybe they'll give up supporting oil companies. Maybe they'll say, too much attention on LBGT stuff. Let's give up these religious privileged people issues and stick to what's important. That's what I'd like to see anyway. Okay, here it is, the sky mirror. There's Uranus. He's written very large because he's very large in your consciousness. Yes. And what he's saying is, wake up. Take a different viewpoint. Change your viewpoint. Change your attitude. Be a rebel. Don't accept what everybody has been saying all this time, because they're saying things to support their platform, whether it's the professor in your school that gave you the bum steer on history, whether it's the preacher in his pulpit that wants you to call him father, whether it's the politician who tells you he's going to do all these amazing things and does nothing. Yeah. Whether it's the policeman with a gun on his belt saying he's going to protect you. No, he's going to protect himself. Anyway, there's an awful lot of this hypocrisy in our society. The institutions are set up on it and they breed it. So it's a tough time. But the main thing is to wake up and start seeing it. And Uranus wakes you up suddenly. Ka-bang! The power goes out. The classic is, wow, you're sitting there all alone with no power, no TV, no internet. What do? Well, you got to eat all that meat in the freezer. Why don't you go out and meet your neighbors? Uranus creates neighborliness. It creates brotherhood. When people, when all the electricity goes out, stoplights go out, how do you drive out there without stop signals? When the signals aren't there, these electric signals, it was much better. Yeah, that's an unusual attitude, huh? Well, this is a time to take an unusual attitude. And, I'm a safety engineer and I've investigated accidents all my life. And I tell you that the electric stop signals make accidents. They don't stop accidents. They make more accidents. As people drive towards them, they're watching the lights. They're not watching pedestrians. They're not watching each other. Their gaze is fixated on that light. In my training courses I used to give, we call them fresh reds, stale reds. Wire the light so when you go through the intersection, you're not looking at the light. Anyway, small bit of safety on the road. I tell you that an alternate attitude and a different look at things will make you safer. Yes, safer, believe it or not. You still got the Saturn-Neptune square going on. 10 to 11 degrees. Oh boy, that's tight. I don't know how these bureaucrats, politicians, managers, all these guys in the suits, I don't know how they're functioning with this going on. Just pretend they're all drunk. Yeah. What else we got going on? Well, let's see. The sun is trining Saturn. There's a new moon coming up on Tuesday, and it trines Saturn, and everybody's going to go over to the Republican side for a month and say, we need laws. Yeah, we need laws. Okay, go put up more laws. Go put up more signs about the speed limit on the highway. You know what happens? People are looking at signs, not themselves. It makes the road less safe. You don't need speed limits. No. You'll drive the safe speed no matter what. Okay, I'll get off my preaching. I can't help it. The safety side of me gets in the way when I see the things going on here. Let's see what's going on for you for the next 10 days. I got the chart here. If you're watching the Thursday night show, well, the moon's in Gemini. You're having a pretty good Thursday night with a nice sextile to the sun. But look out, Friday morning, here's the opposition to Saturn and square to Neptune. What? All the laws have gone crazy. The politicians are all drunk. The guy in the Philippines is killing anybody that has to do with drugs in any way. He's gone insane. He's murdering. Politicians are not trustworthy. Neither are managers. Neither anybody wearing a suit and a tie is a Saturn person, and they don't know what the hell's going on. And you're going to see it Friday morning. Be very confused. Stay in bed late. Expect strange things. A lot of deception. Friday night, the moon's still in Gemini. There's a sextile to Venus. You could get some loving in here. It's a square to Jupiter, though. Too much laughing and loudness. When you get to be late, midnight, 1 a.m., here's a sextile to Uranus. Brotherhood is going along. Not too bad. Friday night. Continues through Saturday morning. In the middle of the day, here's a nice sextile to Mercury. Kids are happy. Altogether, pretty good Friday night, Saturday morning. It's just that Friday morning, boy, that can, that can spoil you. Too much water, too much confusion. Or not enough. Probably not enough water at this point. Well, moon shifts into Cancer Saturday afternoon. It all feels differently. On Sunday morning, the moon hits that last new moon point, the one at 13 Cancer. And there's a trine to Neptune. And this is a really good time to go for religion and art and music. And, I don't necessarily mean going and sitting in a corporate church. No, I'd go sit under a tree and talk to birds and butterflies, and more on that in a little bit. There is a real religion. There is a real God. It's just not what the corporate churches are telling you. Okay, enough. Shut up, Frost. And Sunday, here's the moon opposing Pluto. And so kind of Sunday is a time when you wish somebody wouldn't talk too much. And here's the police problem again. Moon's opposing Pluto in the sky. It's got set off by that 13 Cancer new moon. And this is the return of it. The moon went all the way around the chart, came back to 13 Cancer again, and opposed Pluto. And you're going to choke on all the choking. That's a joke. Pluto chokes you. Cops used to choke you, Yeah, I had to do with stopping that. But here's more of this Pluto stuff, and you can feel radical and protective and territorial. Where's my gun? Anyway, Monday the moon's still in Cancer, so you're still going to feel kind of radical. And as it comes up to, brunch time here just before lunch, here's a square to Uranus. Now, Uranus is the planet that's really acting up. I mean, he's ready to shake and rock and roll, and you're on the last part of a period of time when you probably have seen some high winds and some shakings. But if you haven't seen it, if the wind hasn't knocked a few poles down on Kauai, well, here's another chance. Here's another windy Monday. There's a full moon, the old full moon point here in the afternoon, and a square to Uranus in the front of it. You might get up Monday morning and find out your power's out and the internet's gone and your clock stopped and you're late. Well, I don't use clocks that are electrical for that reason, especially alarm clocks. Tuesday morning, the moon shifted into Leo. All the vibes change. I hope the emergency of Monday didn't upset you too much. If you're prepared, little brotherhood might do some good. The new moon set in the morning here, and it's a pretty good new moon in Leo trining Saturn. It's a time to get organized, You got a month now to use the power of Saturn to make your plans solidify. Saturn like pours cement. He solidifies things. He crystallizes things. Here's an opportunity to do that. It sacrifices Neptune. Don't listen to the preacher or the doctor, or, ignore all those ideals and smoke and mirrors. Probably not too good for the drug war. Well, anyway, new moon. Tell those politicians to behave and get their business done. And then when you get to Wednesday, the moon's still in Leo, and you're kind of in the Venus zone here. There's a nice trine to Uranus, and brotherhood and common sense come on board Wednesday evening. And with Venus there, it's a day of being loving and brotherhood going, and you should see some flowers and butterflies and pretty birds and things here on Wednesday. It's quite nice. Thursday, the moon shifted into Virgo, and things are being kind of mercurial. On Thursday, the moon goes by Mercury. Unfortunately, here's the square to Saturn and Neptune. Comes up on Thursday. And you're going to feel it Thursday afternoon and evening. Starts with the square to Saturn, and everything's delayed. And somebody made a rule or a regulation, and I'm supposed to follow it. And then there's the opposition to Neptune. I can't believe that. Should just tell politicians and managers to stay home for while this is going on. There's decisive information comes out early Friday morning, 2-3 o'clock in the morning, with a nice trine to Pluto, and maybe you get some truth about the police. Some truth will come out on Friday afternoon. The moon goes by Jupiter, Jove, shock, lightning bolts of truth, flash, bang. Quite nice. Yeah, there's a pretty good Friday. Saturday morning the moon goes into Libra and it makes a sextile to Mars. Good time to get up and do some chores, get out and exercise, get out and do some physical things, heat up your muscles, be a hero. Saturday's a good time for it. Get the job done. You'll be very organized on Sunday. It starts early with a nice sextile to Saturn. Oh, my plan, I'm going to do it. And then there's a sextile to the sun, and you're doing it. And then 3-4 o'clock in the afternoon, the moon squares Pluto, and you ran into the bee's nest or the hornets or something stopped you. Whoop, there's a man over there with a gun. Yeah, look out. And what's going on? He's telling me I got to behave. Monday morning, here's the moon opposing Uranus. Here's shaking and quaking and tornadoes and all that stuff, too. I mean, you're only like 8 days away from the station. So Uranus is acting up here. You know, it acts up here. And again, if you haven't had the problems of high winds in Hawaii by now, well, it's not too late. You can still have a few. But you can see when they're coming up here. When Uranus is hitting Mondays, working its way back into Saturdays, or into Sundays. Goes backwards. Yeah, I got some other interesting things to show you. Check this out. Okay, first thing on my list, I left you hanging a little bit on Orion's belt. So we got pyramids replicating Orion's belt, huge ones, built by a civilization 30, 40, 50,000 years ago, all over the earth and then even on the South Pole. And why? Well, 10 years ago, when I first started studying the Mayan stuff, the Mayans said first father came out of a crack in the turtle shell. What? I remembered it. First father, I realized, of course, is God. Yeah. This is my website, by the way, skymirrorastrology.com/TV. A crack in the turtle shell. That's where first father came from. And then later, you know what the crack in the turtle shell was? Orion's belt. Yes. Okay, so first father is God. And if you missed a chance in July when the sun is at no shadow, you know, I mean, you can meet father any place. First father, the sun. The Mayans were all hopeful that the kings and the more high developed Mayans could go there at Orion's belt and become a first father themselves. What? Yes. And then along comes the Egyptians. They got an Orion's belt, and they're interested in going there to Orion's belt and reincarnating as a sun. Amazing. Yeah? Well, I put that together about 10 years ago, and I was totally amazed that these two civilizations, 5,000 years apart, and the whole world, said the same thing about the same stars I've been noticing since I was a tiny child. I've noticed these guys. And then lo and behold, after that, 6 months, a year later, Hubble came along, and Hubble got a good look at Orion's belt, and there's a huge nebula there below about where the sword is, and it's birthing little suns, little baby suns, are forming and popping out like pollywog eggs. And they said that's the only place in the galaxy they have found such a thing. So Egyptians and Mayans and everybody that builds Orion Belt Pyramid, this comes from the old civilization. The Mayans were really good at it. They managed to survive, to get some of the better astrology from the old civilization. Still, they didn't get it all, but astrology and religion were the same. And the idea is the same. You want to become a first father yourself, you got to go to Orion's belt, to that nebula. And you got to be properly prepared, a high being, huh? Okay, just a note to remind you folks on Kauai where we're at. You're watching the show right here. This is 30 days of July, 30 days of August. Uranus station's right here. It's the peak of the wind events, and you're sitting on it watching the show. So we've had one or two, these lines tell me where the most action is, huh? And I'm showing it to you now because of the July 19th full moon takes us from here to there. Full moon squaring Uranus, most irritating, popping up on these Mondays, huh? So you got a couple more to go here. And then these circles tell me when these other planets are involved. So you can see it goes all the way through the middle of August. And if you add 20 days to this, it should go to the August 20th by my old research rules. So Uranus's influence kind of tails off right about there. And you're more free of the quakes and the shakes and the twirling winds. A brief reminder from the July 19th full moon. I've circled some of the hot spots for quakes, because that follows those green lines too. And yeah, one down here, this is this New Zealand church area. Of course, over here is always going off. This is a real hot spot, this whole area over here. And and there's one here back on, and one up here. And what is that? I got even the Suez Canal. Yeah, this line runs right up through where, just below Ecuador. And Ecuador is close enough. You can get more shakings there. And Uranus line runs right through the Suez Canal. That's interesting. Maybe they'll have a big electrical blowout or something. New information, new pyramids. The more they uncover about the old sciences, like the Bosnia pyramid, check that out on the internet, the more they're going to see. They have to keep telling us, oh, these guys were sure good at astronomy and mathematics. Sooner or later, they're going to have to use the word astrology. Hope the 15-year-old Canadian boy who did this discovery, he went over, what did he say here? Well, anyway, gee, use the word. They're going to have to confront it. The world ran on astrology as a basic science long before it did on, but they just can't say the word. The archaeologists, the astronomers, that all these people doing research, it's like a no-no. It's like they got so much resistance from the Bosnia discovery. Everybody stepped up and said, can't be, no, crackpot, blah, blah, blah. Well, even those guys who do archaeoastronomy, made up a name, won't use the word astrology. That's what it was all about, folks. They were doing astrology, yes, and they were good at it, and they were predicting stuff. The Chinese had 5,000 astrologers. That's where I got my astrocartography predictions from on hurricanes and earthquakes. The Chinese, see, everybody got a little chunk of it. After the big disasters knocked down the ancient civilizations. 30,000 years ago, they were going pretty well. And then suddenly, bang. And then at 12,000 years ago, the ice started melting and there was more disaster. The people that barely got through this from the high civilizations saved a little astrology, like what I do, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And, that's going to be tough on what we call them papered PhDs. Guys in institutions that have been giving out the same lies all their life. Just wait till they wake up about real religion. The sun's the father, the moon's the mother. Can't understand that, huh? Oh, I thought my father was the priest down in the Catholic Church. Pluto is tobacco. You want to quit tobacco? It's easy. Acknowledge, distract. Say to yourself, I want some tobacco. Then turn your head and look away and look at something else. And the craving is gone. And you just have to keep doing that for some days. And bang, you'll get off tobacco easy. Yeah, I've been through the Army. I was on the pistol team on the 25th Division up there. I could really shoot that 1911 45 pistol. Here's my take on guns. A policeman doesn't want to wear the guns, but they're doing it because they're scared. What has to happen here? Well, everybody get rid of their guns. You know, follow the Viking countries, all the Scandinavians. They train everybody to use a rifle, in the Army, everybody. And then they put it in their closet. But here's the kicker. Ask a police officer, will you leave your gun at home? If you will, we will leave our guns at home. That's what has to happen. But, the trouble is the officers are scared. And they've made them scared and trained them that way. And they got this crummy, heavy pistol on their belt and the fast draw training. And it makes them a target. They would be a lot safer if they didn't carry a sidearm. These pistols weren't in the history of the police departments, No, they weren't there. The original police department in New York was just to calm down the holiday reverie. And they didn't wear pistols. You even see the old movies now. Some of the old policemen have a club. But pistols were a big mistake. The policeman doesn't really want them. But how do you get this done? Because they're stuck in the institution. Here's the key. If only one small police department gave up its sidearms as an experiment, the results would be evident. The officers would relax. People leave their guns home if the officers leave their guns home. But the officers are so scared. They got to have their pistols. And they really made them a target this time, huh? So the policemen have to talk to each other. Some small police department someplace has to start it. Police unions have to talk and start out with a voluntary no-carry month. Years ago, I was at OSHA. I worked for the police union over the safety of holsters. The police were afraid if somebody grabbed the gun out of their holster and shoot them. Handguns are unsafe. Police don't want them. People don't want them. Voluntary no-carry day.